Chapter 106. Finally, I sent Eclis back to his quarters because he didn't want to take out the choker. Have you come, miss? The butler welcomed me. What's going on, butler? I was puzzled because before I met Eclis, I had a long conversation with him. There's an urgent news for you. Suddenly, what kind of news? I told you to turn down all invitations. After passing the umbrella and shawl to Emily, I went to the desk and sat down. Perhaps because of the Queen's hunt at the hunting competition, invitations have been flooding in these days. The butler recommended me to attend a party held at the prestigious family about 1 or 2, but I ordered him to use it as a fuel for fire because I couldn't afford to deal with a second Colin. That, the butler replied with a slight hesitation to my question. It was a letter from the royal messenger, so I couldn't handle it on my own way. The imperial palace. When I looked at the butler with the puzzled eyes, he exclaimed something with an embarrassed face. Luxurious letter envelope engraved with a glittering yellow dragon. There was a sudden sense of deja vu. I'm sure it's gonna be, oh my lady has been very active at the hunting competition, so I guess we've been invited from the palace. Unaware of all the story from the hunting competition, Emily glistened her eyes and uttered terrible words. Ha, I breathed a deep sigh. It's here, it's here. After getting out of the palace, running away, I turned down all the invitations party and locked myself in the house. It was because I thought it would go into the ears of the prince. Even if I said nothing, I thought I'd be able to move on because there wasn't much response. Give it to me. With a deep sigh, I received the letter from the butler. Then I opened the envelope with a paper knife, took out the contents, and started reading them. Lady Penelope, dear Lady Penelope Eckert. No, should I say beloved now? With all due respect to my lady, there's been a lot out of the last conversation we had when I woke up. The court made a big fuss about it and put me in a very awkward position. In the meantime, I've been busy trying to sort it up, and I send a letter now. I think you and me need to have a serious conversation again. What do you think? Please come to the Imperial Palace as soon as possible, otherwise you'll regret it. Callisto Regulus. I crum ah, I crazy. I crumpled the paper as if it was my first letter. Did he want to meet with you again, miss? The butler asked with a worried look on my screen. Tell me, what's going on? My mouth felt hurts. With a sigh to replace the answer, Butler seemed to understand and became accustomed. I turned my head with a gloomy face. The prince who was dumped by me, while still having feelings of love and affection for each other. Now I was not sure whether he would believe another excuses anymore. Should I just said that I called him in the forest separately to confess, but it's too late. The judge, moreover, if I said it that way, it could have led to a more serious situation. You were still in love with me. Why are you pretending not to not? Without realizing, I shuddered when I remembered what he might have said to me. Okay, what would you do if I didn't even arrived in here? I thought so and started squeezing my head to find out a way to not to go to the palace. No one was hurt, so now there was no excuse for being injured. I can't say I'm seriously ill in the morning. I asked the butler for help because I didn't have a good excuse to think of it. To think of discontent. What reason would be good this time, sir? To be unable to move for a long time. Just like Duke with thick bones, he immediately became troubled without answered, and suddenly he came up with a very good answer. Just say that Miss overdid it in the hunting competition and got a lot of muscle aches. That's nice. I won't be able to take a step forward for the time being. Yes, I'll call the doctor right away, miss. Okay, good work. Thanks to the butler who hurriedly to take an action. The illness was quickly completed. Okay, I can use this to stay inside the mansion. I smiled a satisfied smile when the preparation was done successfully. The butler hurriedly out of my room. Now I have to send a reply to the Imperial Palace by attaching a letter from a doctor instead of me. Are you sick, Miss? Emily, who returned late after cleaning up the shawl, asked with a puzzled look when heard about the doctor, and I nodded without hesitation. Yes, I'm feeling sick from today. A few days later, Eclipse's clothes were all done. When I was packing it, the clothes was enough to fill a large box, and I could not bring it myself. I was the one who ordered the butler to deliver it to him in front of all the knights. Oh, Miss Brooke. Suddenly the door opened and Emily burst in. Miss, you have to get out of here. Emily, I'm having an important conversation with the butler. It's not courteous. is not courteous. Now, that's not the problem, Emily shouted, not as usual, even in my cold voice. Outside now, there is the crown prince. What? The crown prince has come and now in front of the mansion. At that time, in front of the mansion, there was a splendid golden carriage engraved with a yellow dragon. A man came down leisurely, fluttering his brilliant golden hair like gold plated on the surface of the carriage. Hello, Duke. Callisto greeted the Duke, who is standing in front of the mansion. Did you come to meet me? I don't know what to do with this. The Duke ran out in surprise when he was informed that a carriage with an emblem of the royal family had arrived in front of the gate, greeted the prince with reluctance look. Your Highness, have you come all the way to this shrubby place without any further contact? This is a place that I'll visit often in the future. Is there any need to me to give unnoticed first? I'm disappointed. The Duke's face was distorted by the prince's unexpected words. What is that? Nice to meet you, Duke. Or should I call you father-in-law in private? Huh? Duke's mouth was wide open. Either way, the Crown Prince shamelessly looked around for someone, but I can't see my ex-lover who shared feelings of love with me. She haven't finished dressing up yet. Then he naturally walked through the front door. All the employees out there, including the Duke, were shocked and nearly snapped out of it. Your Highness, the Duke comes into his senses and hurriedly blocked the Crown Prince. What kind of mess this is? And where are you going to go? Crown Prince, no matter how much you say in this case, well, now, first let's go to the reception room and talk. Duke, are you going to leave your guest outside the mansion? The Crown Prince pushed the Duke's back and tried to move into the mansion, like water of flows. No, what guest? Who is the guest? Unable to use force against the royal family, Duke was holding out his red face. This is a trespassing. If you keep pushing, I have to talk to the Emperor right away. Unauthorized intrusion. You're so mean, Duke. Don't see it like that. Maybe in the future we will become a family. Your Highness. Duke shouted almost like a scream. However, he could not stop the prince from rushing in. That crazy bastard. And up here, I was literally shivering as I looked down at it, secretly through the window. Miss, the butler who was talking to me a little while ago called me in a regrettable voice. No one knew that madman would come to the mansion until I sent him a reply saying that I was sick. The so- is this what you mean when you say I would regret it? Only I shuddered with my fists clenched and tried and called Emily for preparation. Emily, yes, yes, go get another maid's. What? I clenched my teeth when I saw her tilting her head. Dress me up like a sick person who's about to fall and die. Of course, even if I didn't, I was already on the verge of fainting by the prince's presence. End of chapter 106. Chapter 107. It's all done. It's all done, young lady. I made my mates busier around me. In the mirror, my face was reflected. How is it? As I looked through the finished appearance, I answered with a satisfying voice. I think I should puff up all fall soon. I think I should puff up and fall soon. No, are you kidding? Oh no, it's a compliment. It was really. No matter how many layers of paint were applied, her face was floating like a ghost, and her mouth was bloodless. It was like a thin aristocratic baby girl who had the dark black circles hanging over her face. I like it when I was looking into the mirror and laughing. Knock, knock, lady. It's Fennel. Butler knocked on at that moment, I got up from the vanity and ran to bed. This is because the prince perhaps couldn't stand it and wanted to come into my room following the butler. I covered my blanket all the way to the neck, and once coughed big. I opened my mouth. Yes, come in. The dying voice came out quite naturally. After some time, the door was opened with my face as a result. Fortunately, only the butler entered the room. I looked back at the butler, and there is no presence of other human beings, and I went back to a safe state. How did it go? Awake. The butler who came to the bed paused for a moment, breathing in. He looked at me with a strange face. The source. Wait. I opened my eyes. Short time. You've changed to someone I don't expect, miss. It looks like someone just jumped out of the hall. Are you sick? At the satisfied answer, I smiled very hard. The butler was once again surprised. By the way, what happened? Is he gone? My face was thick with powder, and my face was cold. I wanted to wash it off quickly. After failing to do something, the butler put on solemn look. The Duke allowed the Crown Prince to meet you. What? I opened my mouth wide. I stammered for a while, and I asked back. I'm having a hard time to move around. I've already said that the Crown Prince said he's going to visit you, and so I have to rush into your room. He said, what? The Duke stopped him from coming on, just the two of us in your room. And so I finally reached a compromise. by telling you this instead. I have good news instead. Considering Lady's physical condition, it will take 30 minutes. That's good news. I was thrilled and made my mouth open. Even if I didn't have to, I firmly believed that the Duke would be the first shield. However, the Duke, I believed, betrayed me. Haha. I laughed and thought, X is good. I need to meet the prince. I left in the room I left the room wearing a white pajama and a cardigan. It was to give the crown prince a guilty conscience in a single dress. Bad guy, why should you chase the sick person and make a fuss? Of course, he has that kind of conscience. I don't know if I can do it. As soon as I opened the back door, I slowed down and acted in a grumbling manner and took a step toward the place. Maybe it's been raining all day. It's been a long time since the clear autumn sunshine was blue and high. Looking at the clear sky and the beautiful sponsorship of the writer behind it, I was relieved from the long chapter. Yes, you're not going to come to my house to kill me. Of course, even if he's a crazy guy who doesn't have anything to stop, he won't go that far. In addition, I had insurance before, and I told you not to kill me, no matter what. If you're going to reward me, please give me this, okay? I remember the promises of the past. I moved with a lighter mind. Where are you? I could see a big back of a man from far away, in the middle of the forest, heading to the haze field, where yellow flowers of unknown names even danced up to the waist. As if he noticed my presence right away, even though it was quite a long distance, he turned around and looked at me. Well, my one and only lover of the past, you are finally here. Even in a bright daylight, the brilliant hair that seemed to have been splattered with gold thinly did not lose its light. But as of now, the beautiful hair has not caught my eyes. Siren, what are you staring at so stupid? Why? Have you fallen in love with me? I stared blankly over the head of the astonishment of his mouthing. What the hell is this? The red iris staring at me, the blinking favor, like a siren, seemed so ominous at the affinity bar. Now I wasn't feeling any better now. At the end of the hunting contest episode, I decided that I had escaped a lot from the dead ending due to the prince. What is it? But when I saw that ominous red color, I suddenly got scared. Are you saying the darker the color, the more dangerous it is? Then what's the dark red color of Eclipse? Anxiety quickly eroded the tip of my chin. I couldn't even reach out to him, so I just stood up without an answer, and the prince had a puzzled face. My lady, were you really sick? He narrowed the distance in an instant. It's really pale in color. A guy who had been shoved up to his nose suddenly bowed down and pushed my face, and he's touching my face, isn't it? Why? Why are you doing this? I started to recoil and shouted back. It occurred to me that I was dressed to look sick. No matter how hard it seems, if you look closely, you have to find an awkward place. When he stepped back and spread his legs for about 3 steps, the crown prince tilted his head sharply. The appearance looks quite sick. It's not like I'm sick. It's that I'm sick. Your Highness. I thought you didn't want to see me again, so I thought you lied. I was immediately spotted as a liar, and I hurriedly pressed down my trembling heart. How can I lie about my safety? Why? If you take if you take medicine, it will be better soon. You've been sick for months. I was speechless because of the past. This After a moment of silence, I bowed my head and turned the subject into greetings. Greeting, the little son of the empire, I said. You're doing it so fast. The crown prince twisting his lips and sarcasm. And I know it's too late. I became a little embarrassed. Why did you come all the way here? What's going on? I asked him. He looked up. Did you know, my lady, if there are humans who can't do anything good in social life these days, and they're talking about me and the lady? You were in the eve of the hunting competition. Of course, it's true that I made some lies at the court, but I haven't had that mess. Crazy. It's worth the prince. It's worth the prince to chase after her. What kind of bastard had been spreading such nonsense was inevitable. At that time, a voice suddenly resonated in my head. Maybe not. Maybe it will help you live out on the rumors. No way. I hurriedly shook my thoughts in the fire. No matter how ignorant I am, Reynold wouldn't answer for me and wouldn't have talked about that bullshit. It was just at that moment when I opened my mouth to make an excuse. In the morning after the eve, I was still hung up on the prince, just like the other girls. Oh, and you've become the most attractive woman in the empire. How do you feel, my lady? Thanks to that, the crown prince who has lost face come one step closer to me with a ghostly smile, showing his teeth. End of chapter 108. Chapter 109. Above his head, a red gauge bar flickers. Why? I heard a siren ringing somewhere. I forgot that I was acting for a sick person, and as soon as he approached, I cried back and hurriedly, all it's all a rumor, Your Majesty. I never said that, really. Well, I don't think it's completely rumored when I think of what the princess had said to me. Huh? Didn't you say you quit loving me to change into a better man? What are you talking about? I rushed into the scene of the distortion that took place right in front of me. I don't have any plans to date anyone for the time being. Never. Of course you should. In my confirmation, the crown prince replied with a terrifying air of spirit. I'll be watching you clearly with my two eyes. Who's better than me? In the great Inca Empire, the red eyes glared eerie at me. Something, sir. I was in a state of disarray. It was because I felt strangely that the conversation deviated from the original topic, and as soon as I was reflecting on what he said, why do you keep faltering like a dung dog? I'm a dung dog. I still stepped back to the poor guy's language choices and stepped back. Actually, I was a little scared. I don't know how good he is, and I don't know what he's going to do. I know the peasants' patronage was well organized, and there was no risk of falling over and heading in, but there was something called if. To prevent any unfortunate tragedy that could happen in this dumb game, I'm still keeping a distance from the prince. Huh? Was I looking strange again? The crown prince opened his eyes with a look at this. He strode along at a great pace. Before I knew it, I escaped from the garden and ran away as if I had been pushed to the edge of the forest. Hmm. It was quite bizarre to see a man standing alone in the middle of the garden with red eyes that never rung with the bright yellow and tender flower stems. I shouted in great dismay at the prince's constant narrowing of the distance. Why do you keep coming? Then why do you keep running away? Indeed, he kept coming to me because he noticed me running away and broke up with his work. The persistent guy, I swallowed the curse and put on the most fragile expression I could. I'm sick, Your Highness. Who is it? You haven't forgotten the promise you made with me, have you? What promise? It's a promise in the bedroom. Even in the battlefield, there is an unprecedented rate that the elderly don't touch. Huh. Do you look like a crazy guy who came to pick up the throat of princess on a rumor? Upon silence, the prince fervently hardened their face. He suddenly opened his arms and revealed his waist. Now, I didn't bring the knife. Oh, I was a little surprised. I came here almost like an alter ego enough to come to the banquet hall, and he really came without a long sword. He looked at his empty waist and muttered timidly, because it is not always possible to threaten a person with a knife. I'm not like anyone who turns my words over and over again in a few weeks. Ha, I don't know why I'm making this excuse. Did he throw it? Somehow he got suspicious and said, Awesome. He was caught inside and expressed his fighting spirit to refute. Have you never had a record? I lost my intention to refute. I am sorry for your work at the courtroom, Your Highness, I said because I was guilty of sin, so I changed my excuses to avoid Marquis Ellen's conspiracy. I really can't help it. Did you say sorry? Huh, I was so dumbfounded when I got the report. I didn't get angry. I'm sorry. I made a pure apology for changing the words before he got angry beyond the unpleasant. When he finally opened his eyes after his being poisoned, he was rejected by Princess, who said she liked me. How ridiculous would it be? Yes, it's proof that you've moved quite far from the dead, and just because you didn't bring your knife. I tried to think positively, looking dimly at the gauge bar, the ominous favor of the man who stopped blinking. What the hell are you doing with that look on your face? If anyone sees me, they'll think I'm after someone who's really sick. When they saw me, they laughed and said, Did you misunderstand me? Wasn't it? I saw him again with fresh eyes. The prince, such as that, dazzled his eyes. I sent you a letter asking you to meet because it gave you both the results and the message. That threat. No, the letter. That's what you meant. Well, are you dissatisfied with my letter? Oh no, to me, who is quick to deny the crown prince. Take something out of one's arms and cross it. Here, take this. I blinked, looking down at what he had handed me. A faded brown paper was tied with a red ribbon. What is this? The source, Emily. It's a map of Balta that you dug out of the skull, the magic scroll we used to get out of the cave. Magic scroll? The palace wizards looked at their hands, so they were a little bit more I restored it perfectly. I opened my eyes wide, looking again. The remains of the seeker were rotten because of the remains of the ashes. I couldn't figure out why the prince gave me this meaning. Why did you give this to me? Because you have excavated. It's yours. Callisto replied to my question. You seem to be interested in archaeology. I sent the material related to Balta through the servant, so let's check it out. After finishing his talk, he avoided looking awkwardly. I was in a strange mood. Callisto didn't seem to really come and kill me. Besides, it is also giving unexpected gifts. At first, my heart was throbbing. I'm in a hurry for a while, and the scrolls he passed and looked down at the scroll. What are you doing? Don't you want to get it? In the end, when the prince who had not been able to wait was impatiently pushing the scroll, I had to stand up and accept it. Can I have this? It's yours. I made a copy of it for research, so don't be mad. He said casually whether he really meant to give it to me. The remark made me feel at ease. By the way, did you keep it a secret that you studied archaeology to the Duke? I came to deliver to him, and he said you wouldn't, but I couldn't believe it. Then the prince asked, as if he had thought of it. I couldn't answer back. It's not even Penelope, and Duke won't even know what she's interested in. Thank you for the gift, Your Grace. I am purely grateful instead of answering. Come on. This time a white paper bag popped out. What what the hell is this? Take it out. Take it for now. I was overwhelmed by the fluttering envelope, so I received it as well, because I thought it would be something else related to historical sites. Unfortunately, I can cut off the neck of Marquis Ellen, Princess. But instead of explaining the gift, Carl Risto slanted out of the blue. That means the old man has been cleared of charges. What? A loud noise broke out unknowingly at the news of the poor assassination. The Marquis Allen was obviously a force in for his assassination. I went through all the bad quests, but why? I asked back with a face that became serious in an instant. Oh, why? For a better Emily. The Marquis cut off his tail by putting all the blame on the insane Baron Tullet. Oh, I had a short replied. It flashed across the Crown Prince's words, the assassin's assassination. As a reward for the quest, the vouchers were not for Marquis Allen. Well then, does everything go as it is? That's too much. How hard it was to pass the story, but it couldn't have been. Don't be so sad, said the Crown Prince, as if comforting. I can't believe what I hear. Poetry. I looked at him with a flash of wire. Callisto had a slightly awkward look on his face, but I've made sure of the prince's revenge. Revenge? Yes, I cut the heads of the 7 noblemen who put you on the judge's bench. The man uttered the words and gritted his teeth and grinned his teeth. My eyes were stunned. You cut their throat? The most because he seemed so cruel as to boast. But on the other hand, he calmly conveys the results. You look like you already knew it. It was Callisto, not me, who should be sorry to the point where I couldn't catch Marquis Allen. But he added hurriedly, as if he were concerned that I would be upset. A member of the white artist, Helene, was killed in an assassination. He was admitted to be involved, forfeiting his property and degenerating into a slave. The execution was avoided because this member of the family was not directly involved. The Countess Helen, it was a long time ago. After checking out my better look, Callista stared at me with strange eyes. Then, with a chain on the white envelope I was holding, I finally confided about the identity of the gift. That's one of the properties of the confiscated Helen family. Do you remember last year when you were banned from the hunt? The so-called mad chimpanzee with the crossbow incident? Yes, of course, I remember that. I answered with a quivering voice. I didn't do it myself, but there wasn't a big blow. However, I felt uncomfortable with the words and actions of the man who said, she is a crazy chimpanzee with a crossbow. But the idea didn't last long. Your father handed the diamond mine over to Count Helen and agreed to make sure you weren't imprisoned. The diamond mine? And then his words caught my ears. I don't know that there is such a situation. It was. That's what you're holding right now. Diamond mine possession. The Crown Prince lifted his head proudly, looking at me in dismay. End of chapter 109. Chapter 110. I blankly lowered the line of poetry along his chin. The white envelope that was handed over thoughtlessly felt as heavy as a bolt from the blue. I reinvestigated the case at that time, and the Crown Prince spat out in an indifferent tone. Reinvestigation. Yeah, I was wondering why you went so crazy last year. Oh, I didn't do anything, but I felt weird at the naked eye of a nailed man. In the process of robbing Count Helen, Count Dorothea also robbed her a few times. She blew it easily. The Countess of Dorothea? Yes, you came after Helen at the court and testified. The Crown Prince added, nodding his head. I heard that the herd originally took turns hosting tea parties at every hunting competition. Last year's organizer was Helen, and this year it was Dorothea. No wonder I wondered why you invited me to the tea party without a single acquaintance. The tactile must have been involved in last year's incident. Why did you crawl to the party again when you knew? Asked the crown prince with a puzzled look. The most up to date. Wait, you're crawling? I walked on 2 feet, you son of a bitch. You, how could I know that they were the same? Suddenly the injustice soared, but it was hard pressed down. It was questionable enough from the Crown Prince's point of view. The hunting competition happened once a year. I thought something had changed. I equivocated, and the Crown Prince was really surprised. He looked back at me like he was. I'm a pacifist, and I'm not the only villain in the world, and I'm the one who pulled my sword right away because I'm a bit offended like anyone else. The crossbow will be shot instead. There was nothing more to say to him, so he was divided. Penelope, the hell out of a. Actually, I was only aware of last year's events roughly, but I didn't know them deeply. But, well, isn't it obvious? It's a bit of surprise that the Duke agreed to give the diamond mine to Helen, but I didn't want to expose what I had before I possessed and put the shame on me. But the prince has to say, I opened it up and moved last year's events in detail. I heard that Helen had bought guards and placed them near Tifa Tijang to get you into trouble. Did you know that? I didn't know what Tifa Tijang is, but I guess it's hunting competition field. Bye. I opened my eyes wide. I can't believe you bought a guard for me. It's a real gong, a gong. Why didn't it happen this time? Was lifted, but immediately convinced, even after suffering from the situation last year. I didn't expect the princess to participate again. As soon as I had no idea and the crown prince followed and gave me a handful of mosquitoes and the tea that goes with you, they all laughed at me, and I gave tea with a handful of mosquitoes and mocked them together go as a tea to go with you. I don't know which one is more accurate. For more, ay nako. What? Mosquitoes? I swallowed a sound that almost popped out. It's like what I've been through in person. It's a big deal if you act like you've never heard of it before. No, mosquitoes were too much. Come to think of it, I also went through a hunting competition. The stinky yellow tea that Mrs. Dorothea recommended to drink. It's a shame. I almost got stuck. Bad girls. That's when it's very, very random. I should have doing it. I couldn't help but gnash my teeth at the crossbow. Penelope, who is only 17 years old, who was overwhelmed and was in a state of panic. You deserve to be crazy. The crown prince looked at me with a look of great fun, since he thought similar to me, but I'll catch mosquitoes flying around and scare them myself. The crossbow in my mouth was so sweet. As expected, it's not normal. Clap, 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 clap. I frowned. You're making fun of me, aren't you? No way. If you endure it, you will get sick. It's a compliment. It didn't sound like a compliment at all. I felt like I was in the same boat with him for a moment, so I was upset. By the way, didn't you tell the Duke in detail what happened then? The Crown Prince asked abruptly. Then what? If I had said I would have given you a handful with mosquitoes, I wouldn't have gone to the diamond mine. Since they are both, I'm sure you'd have given both sides a sapphire. Callisto seemed to be asking a few questions, not sarcastically. I'm speechless. It was a scene that didn't come out in the game because I don't know how Penelope acted at that time. Wasn't she really told the Duke? But when I came up with the crazy option of hard mode, Penelope was not more than willing to say, I'm sure they'd be in a mess, this, saying, how dare they give me a handful with mosquitoes? But I decided to believe Penelope would have just been caught with a good hostess and made no excuse like a fool. If I told the Duke and nothing changed, isn't that too miserable? I don't think he would believe me. I replied to the Crown Prince question much later. Before I knew it, I was stroking my cheek with one hand. When I came to my senses at the prince's meaningless gaze, I lowered my hand with a shy face. You were the majority, and I was alone. He shrugged his shoulders and pretended nothing was wrong. I thought Callisto would be ridiculed and sarcastic at my words. He picked up the corners of my mouth and twisted it up. Was like I expected. Your father deserves to know, but he didn't mock me unexpectedly. As good as our emperor, Callisto smiled with a fierce spirit. But strangely enough, the face looked grim. I didn't want to go through another heart-wrenching freak, so I hurriedly changed the subject. But why would you give this to me? For a better, I said, holding a white envelope. It's my father's original. It's in my hand, and it's my heart, whomever it's given to, replied Callisto with a sullen retorted retort. With a sullen retort, it meant that he had no intention of returning it to the Duke. I hesitated for a moment and gave him the mine. However, it's too much for me. I'll thank you for scrolling. I couldn't get it. What a piece of cake. Isn't that the price of the shame, disgrace, and tears Penelope experienced last year? It was something I couldn't just get. When he tried to return the white envelope, Callisto wriggled his eyebrows. What's wrong with you? What? What's wrong with me? You said you liked to be fancy. You hold it until you get tired of them. The prince was making a mysterious face when I said, I don't know. The conversation in the cave flashed past ear. It would be nice if someone looked rich. La- I like jewelry, gold, of course. My face stiffened after remembering dark history. You don't want to kill me, but accept the nonsense and thank you. It's a reward for saving a life, the life of the crown prince. At that moment, the crown prince suddenly approached and grabbed my hand. Check a list of favorites. Are you sure you want to confirm 2 million gold, fame, 200, an unexpected contact floated a white square window over his head. The moment I stared blankly at it, the white envelope that he had held out for return was grasped by the back of my hand with force so that it would be tightened. Receive it. Smile sweetly. Don't look as sullen as if you've chewed dog poop every time we meet. Dog poop. I backed away, disgusted by his vulgar way of speaking. I didn't want to, but when I had the chance, I wanted to check his favorability. But it was then, except for the Crown Prince and me, there was a subtle sign of silence in the patronage. I felt it. I turned my head reflexively. A dense forest bordering on the road to the smokest back. Ah, between the wild trees, the back of someone who was disappearing quickly after I caught sight of him. It was strangely familiar. Eclise. A little murmur leaked out, as if I were talking to myself. I didn't see it in detail, but it was clear that I had seen gray hair. Why is Eclise here too? He should be training by now. Has not been raised to meet me. I tilt my head because I think I saw it wrong. This con- are you a working employee? What? At the sound of the prince's questions, I came to my senses, turning his head forward again. Callisto was limping through the empty forest with his red eyes glazed. I guess so. His gaze slowly returned to me when he was hurried to speak in an insignificant voice. But, princess, he called me with a curious face, still clenched. My hand. These days, learning a play is the basic skill of a nobleman, isn't it? End of chapter 110.